My dad was a jet test pilot back in the 1950s and 60s. His name was Joe Kinkella, and he flew for the Air Force and then for North American Aviation out in the Los Angeles area. Growing up, my favorite bedtime stories, they didn't come from books. They came from my dad's real-life adventures. He'd tell us stories about breaking the sound barrier, working in his uncle's gold mine, or how, as a kid, his grandpa had worked hauling beer in buckets for Wyatt Earp out in Tombstone, Arizona. His stories were great. Unforgettable. Or so I thought. Because as the years went by, my recollection of those adventures, well, it kind of mushed out. So by the time I was grown, all I could really remember was a vague shadow of those bedtime tales. Oh, it made me so sad to realize that I was on the verge of losing all those wonderful memories. So back in 1998, I did one of the smartest things I think I've ever done. I sat down with my dad and asked him to tell his stories one more time. But this time, I captured those memories on 12 hours of cassette tapes. Yeah, I know. Cassettes. What's a cassette? Look, it was the 90s. You work with what you got. But I have to tell you, what I got from those sessions was pure story gold. Way too good to keep to myself. Which is why I've decided it's time to share some of his best adventures with you. But before I do that, let me ask you something. Whose story would you love to capture while there's still time to do it? Now, I know you're thinking of someone. Go ahead and leave their name in the comment section, and then like, subscribe, and follow me, because I'm going to give you a plan that will help you collect and protect your own story gold. But right now, it's Joe's turn. Let's listen to his story about the first time he met Charles Lindbergh out in Kingman, Arizona. So, in his own words, here's episode 1 of Flyboy, the Lindbergh Connection.
We gave him a ride to town. We were out. We just got in the airplane, and went out to do something. I forget. And it was getting dark, or just, close to sundown. And this airplane come in, landed, and it was Lindbergh, and he was coming from Los Angeles going east, and Kingman was the first fuel stop. The airport manager come over, George Terrian was his name, and asked Dad, he said, something, that's Lindbergh that come in and is going to need a ride to town. Will you guys, will you give him a ride to town? Dad said, of course, So we did. And I got in the back seat, and he sat up front. Yeah. And they talked. I couldn't hardly hear what they're talking about all the way in. Yeah. And so when we got to the hotel to drop him off, I got out of the back seat to get back up at front because he was getting out, and his suitcase, little bag, was on it. So I got it out too, pulled it out, and I had it there. So he got out, and before I got in, I remember he put his hand on my head. Great big hand, And I was, 11 or 12, something like that. Yeah. And he said, is this one of our future pilots? And my dad says, I hope so.
Years
later, when I was a test pilot at North American, our office was in the old, what they called Hangar 1, which is the only hangar still remaining at LAX on the south side, because it's a historic monument. Yeah. And that's where our offices were. Yeah. And so, anyway, we would ride the tailgate of a station wagon with our parachute and everything. We had 70 pounds worth of equipment. total.
Yeah.
And it was Mae West, dinghy, parachute, all the equipment, helmet, and so yeah, the whole bit. It all weighed 70 pounds. So we'd stagger out to the back of the station wagon and sit down on the tailgate,
Yeah.
so that then the driver would take us to the airplane down the ramp and back up, and we'd step out off of the tailgate, and one of the mechanics would take the parachute off of us,
Yeah.
and then start up, and another mechanic would help him
Push you up?
him.
Oh, push in.
Yeah, up and set the parachute and the dinghy and everything. It was all attached in the pilot's seat. And then I'd make my pre-flight, or a pilot would, walk around, and then I'd get in the airplane, and then the mechanic come up and strap you in, make sure that everything was buckled and all that kind of stuff. Well, it was after I had flown kind of late that day, and I was one of the last ones in. In fact, I was the last one. That I was on the back of the station wagon coming back to the pilot's office, and I noticed, it wasn't there when I left, there was an F-86 sitting about from here to that edge over there, maybe a little further, out in the ramp, and it had stairs up over the wings, so you could walk up on each side of the cockpit. And there were 4 people, 2 on each side of this cockpit, looking in the cockpit. And I didn't pay any attention, and I happened to look back up, and there was Atwood, the president of the company, motion, come over. So I said, oh, okay. So I remember I turned to Buck, and I said, oh, the boss wants to see me. Would you take my stuff in? Oh, yeah. It's a good big guy. No, he was a driver of the station wagon, kind of lazy driver. But anyway, I'll take care of it. So he did. And I walked over, and I said, yes, sir. And he said, Joe, and the thing is that the president of the company and the chairman of the board, which was Dutch Kindleberger, the first day you reported in after you passed your physical and was processed, you went and met the president and the chairman of the board because they wanted to meet the pilots, and which was, I thought that was a terrific deal for them to do. And they both had these fantastic memories. Now, this was months later. He remembered my name, and he said, Joe, when I got almost over there, he said, would you give these gentlemen a cockpit briefing? Get in. And I looked up. Lindbergh and General Doolittle.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I said, well, I should have said no. I didn't want to. I said, of course. So I got up, and they asked darn good questions.
Yeah.
They asked good questions, wing roll during mock dives and all that kind of stuff. And so this lasted, 10 minutes at the most. And I sat there, and they both, well, that's all of our questions. And Lindbergh said to Doolittle, what do you call him? I can't remember. He had a nickname for him.
Yeah.
He said, anything more? I said, no, I can't think. He said, great. That's good. That was great. So I got out of the cockpit and started walking back to the pilot's lounge. Yeah. And I got about halfway there, and I heard these footsteps behind me. Yeah. And he said, hey, Joe. And it was Lindbergh.
Yeah.
And he said, is there any other pilots in the pilot's office? I said, oh, yeah, they're probably all just about in there getting ready to leave. He said, good, why don't you take me in and introduce me around?
Oh, my goodness.
Here I'm the new boy. So then I said, this isn't the first time I met you. And he said, really? I said, yeah. I said, my dad and I gave you a ride to town in Kingman, Arizona. And this was back in the mid-30s. And I said, when you got out of the car at the hotel, you put your hand on my head and said, is this one of our future pilots? And my dad said, my dad said, I sure hope so. Yeah. He stopped. He said, by golly. He said, I remember that.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Isn't that something?
That's
yeah.
What a story.
So then I took him in and introduced him around, and of course I was his big buddy, see?
Oh, yeah, because he knew you
Yeah.
before, when you were just a little
Yeah. And boy, you talk about the other guys impressed.
I bet.
I love that story. If you enjoyed it too, go ahead and share this video with people you like. Then follow me so you don't miss the next episode of Flyboy. You're going to want to keep your eyes peeled because I've got a new series of shorts coming out that's going to help you capture your own story gold from the people you know and love. Oh, and by the way, Lindbergh's nickname for his longtime friend, General Jimmy Doolittle, was Slim. Now, aren't you glad you listened to the end? Until next time, bye for now. Over and out.